Big treat today, folks. We're at Plant Delights Juniper level, and I'm talking with Tony Avent, who is Mr. Plant. Anybody who's a gardener knows who he is. And today we're talking about one of my loves and one of his, which is agaves.
Yeah, pretty incredible, isn't it, to think that we can grow this here in a climate that could get down into the single digits. Pretty neat. This is a plant that we call Agave pseudoferox, and you can go down the taxonomic rabbit holes. It's sold as Salmianiferox, which is a Zone 9 species.
You're not Zone 9.
We're not Zone 9, have never been Zone 9.
Yeah.
And so what happened, we realized, is the pre-Columbians, as they moved up from Mexico into what's now the United States, began bringing their favorite agave species that they use for alcohol, they use for sewing, for all kinds of things, and moved them up north, and they began breeding with more cold hardy things, unbeknownst to them. Are these wonderful plants for gardens.
Sort of natural hybrids that just sort of happen through people migrating and bringing their plants with them.
Which has happened since the beginning of time.
It
Yeah,
sure
pretty neat. So this is one called green goblet, and it's one of the largest of the hardy forms.
Goblet?
Goblet.
That seems like a misnomer. Look at it. It's like
it
should
does.
be green vat.
I think it was named when it was much smaller.
I guess so. And I noticed you've got it planted. Tell me a little bit about drainage and things like this.
External drainage means how the water sheets off. So we always put those on slopes.
So the water flows away from the plant.
Flows away. The second thing is internal drainage. How well is that soil drained? How fast, when it rains in there, does the water get out?
So it percolates down through the soil quickly.
Exactly.
In other words, clay is not your friend. Tight clay.
Unamended clay is not your
correct.
friend. Yes. What they hate is water in the wintertime. So we always recommend on the smaller ones planting a shrub on the north side where it will not interfere with the light, but will help suck the moisture out.
What a good tip.
And that is a huge difference maker in growing agaves in cold winter climate.
That is a great tip.
The other thing is, do not plant agaves in cold climates in the fall. You've got to get them in summer. They have to build up enough mass to be able to sheet the water away from the roots. But if you want to see growth, you pour the water to them in the summertime and stop in the fall.
Okay, so a dry winter is what they really want.
Absolutely.
Because they rot out in the winter if the roots are wet and cold.
That's the key.
Gotcha. Makes perfect sense. How about fertilizing these things? Do you ever?
We don't use any chemical fertilizers in the garden. We do it all organically. So when we build the beds, so all of these beds we start with our mix of whatever our native soil is. We mix half compost into that. We take that mix and mix it 50% with a product called permatill, which is this. And permatill is a popped slate. So it's like a pumice material. It's got air in it and all around it.
They heat it and it expands. Yeah,
it's actually used for making lightweight concrete block, and this is the leftover residue from that process. But it's a great product. It also has a pH of 8.2.
Oh, I did not know that.
And permatill, agaves like higher pHs. They don't require it, but they really like it. So you mix this in with your native soil, and then you've got a high pH that the agaves absolutely love.
Well, how about we go talk about some particularly hardy varieties that people even in the colder sections of Tennessee could grow successfully.
All right, sounds great.
Let's talk about this one.
Okay, this is one of the hardiest. This is one of the weirdest agaves. This is Agave striata, which means long, straight leaves.
It looks almost more like a yucca,
It does, doesn't it? Now, the interesting thing about this, almost all agaves flower and then they die. This one does not.
Oh.
And this one and the ones related to this. So recently, when somebody was working on the agave family tree, they looked at these and they said, you know what, these actually come up at a weird place on the family tree. Let's slice off that limb and take this out of the genus Agave, and it became a new genus called Echinoagave.
Okay.
Which means agave that looks sort of like a porcupine.
Yeah, okay.
So, but it's still in the agave group, but really fascinating plant. And like I say, it does not die after flowering, and this is one that flowers every single year.
Okay, so it throws up the typical agave stalk with the
flowers look just like
ivory bells hanging.
Just like an agave, but but fascinating little plant. So that's one of the very hardy ones.
And is this about as big as it gets, would you say?
This is mature size.
This is mature, okay.
Yep.
So that's about like 4 by 3 maybe?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So this is another of those odd agaves that got chopped off the family tree just this year. This is another very odd plant. You see it has no spines.
Yeah.
This is known as Agave bracteosa. So when they chopped it off, they said this becomes the new agave genus called paleo agave.
Old agave.
Yeah, so it's the only one in its group. This one hangs off the rock cliffs. You go up into northern Mexico, about 8,000 feet. It's just dripping off the cliffs. It's a fascinating plant.
It's almost curly on the end.
It is. It's very easy to grow. And this is one that I think we found has done very well in some pretty cold
Colder
temperatures.
climates, okay.
So bracteosa.
Bracteosa, but it's one that blooms and dies when it eventually
This
blooms.
one does bloom and die, but the ones that bloom and die, the offsets don't die. So it's only the main clump that
don't they
dies.
call those pups? They put out the babies around the base. And
It's just like a bromeliad that people grow as a house plant.
exactly, good example, yeah. Well, that's really handsome, and I really like the kind of light blue-green color of that new growth. That's handsome. Wow.
Yeah, this is pretty neat. Of the really large blue agaves, this is the hardiest. This is called Agave ovatifolia, common name the whale's tongue.
Whale's tongue.
Agave. So this thing really gets amazing. It'll get 4 foot tall, 7 foot across before it flowers. It was one of the more recent discoveries. This actually was not realized to be a new species until the 80s.
Really?
From northern Mexico. Now, unlike the others we've looked at, this one never offsets. So it grows its entire life to flower one time. Now in the wild, they're called century plants because it takes them at 100 years.
Yeah, that's to get big enough to throw up that bloom.
Yeah, and it's a big bloom. So this one now in cultivation, because where we are, we get 46 inches of rain a year.
Okay.
So it blooms 6 times as fast, so generally 16 years.
Okay, so our humidity basically ramps up the life cycle of all of this.
The humidity and the moisture, because where these grow in the wild, they may get 8 to 10 inches of rain a year.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So
like
when
we're giving it steroids almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, it likes the moisture in the summer, so they grow like crazy. And then when it flowers, it produces this enormous 25-foot spike, which is incredibly spectacular.
I've seen pictures of you guys up on big ladders, collecting seed and pollinating and doing all of that. Yeah. So this is a species that depends entirely on seed to keep going.
It does, absolutely. Now, what is also interesting, once it finishes seed, this species will often produce baby plantlets up on the old seed pods. So if you've got a tall ladder, you can climb up there, you can actually take these little plants off that are clonal versions of this.
Adventitious little babies.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, and then you just pot those up and...
And then you got a new plant.
Wow.
It doesn't do it all the time, but it does it, I'd say 50% of the time when they flower.
As long as you're not scared of heights, you got new plants.
You're good to go.
Yeah, sounds great. That's a gorgeous specimen though, my gosh. It's got some serious weaponry on it.
It does, yes. It's a great plant to demonstrate Darwinism. You know, people who are not particularly keen on making good decisions, can get damaged. Or observant, yeah. It's a great plant to induce mindfulness in the garden.
There you go.
This is Agave lechugia. This is one of the real hardy ones. It looks completely different from everything we've looked at before.
No kidding, it's low and it looks almost windswept.
It does. It's one that multiplies well, very slow to flower. Matter of fact, we've never had one flower in 30 years.
Oh.
In the wild, this is known as shindigger plant because it just punches people in the shin when you try to walk through it, because in the deserts like this, it makes really large populations. So this is probably a 20-year-old patch.
Oh, wow. So it's very slow to spread.
It is, but it's a really nice addition to the
I love the
agaves.
sculptural effect of it. It's really such a contrast in texture to everything around it.
It really is a lovely little plant.
Yeah, I love the shindigger though. I can see it's just the right height.
It
to
is.
stab you good.
It is.
This one looks great.
Well, this is actually a hybrid with the one we looked at earlier, Agave bracteosa, which again is no longer an agave. So that was crossed with one called Agave lophantha, which is another great one for cold climates, and it produced this wonderful plant with absolutely no spines.
Oh,
and
good.
then it has this central band, which is lighter, and the color
I
fades
see that.
during the year. That comes from Agave lophantha.
I see that. You can see this subtle lighter band up the middle of the blade.
Yeah, and as the new growth comes out, it's more prominent, but a wonderful plant. I'm not aware that this has ever flowered anywhere in the world. This is a cultivar called Mateo. Very slow to offset. We probably had this in for a decade before we had a single offset.
Wow.
So now we've got a few.
Are these babies coming off of
These
it
are
up here?
babies,
Okay.
exactly. So those can be taken off and shared with friends.
Right.
Give them at the plant sale, give them away. Start your own nursery. All kinds of options. But a really great plant, I think, does need to be tried out in a lot more areas. I think it has good hardiness.
Okay, so this would be a really good one for even people like around Nashville where it's pretty cold to really give this one a shot.
Yeah, we've had this through 7 degrees. That's the coldest we've been in the last 20 years. So it'd be worth a shot.
We've been a lot colder than that, but it would certainly be worthwhile to give it a, especially if you've got the right, you plant it correctly as you were talking about earlier and you put it in the right location.
Yep.
Yeah. I see the stripes.
Okay, this is the parent of the Agave Mateo. This is Agave lophantha, and this is a cultivar called Splendida. This is one that you can make these nice masses. This was 1 quart pot, and see how it's filled in and really made a beautiful thing, and it just wraps this way around rocks. So I always love
Just gorgeous.
to put it in rocks. It's a really easy one to grow, and again, one of the most hardy species that we've tested.
And I love the stripes on the leaves. They're really distinct with this species, and it's so decorative.
Yeah, there's just not a lot with variegation that will survive in cold areas.
Yeah.
So this is really nice to have that gives you a little yellow variegation.
Oh, that's really beautiful. How long did it take for this mass to get like
This would be a 20-year-old
20-year-old.
mass to go from a quart pot. And
Okay.
Of course, you could divide that now and get probably 300 out of there.
Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty quick. It's really gorgeous. What a spectacular group.
Well, they really are. So in terms of hardy agaves, it didn't take us but a few years to exhaust all the potential hardy agaves for, zone 7.
Right.
And so the only way we get more is to breed those. So we bought us a 21-foot ladder, and we hired people that don't mind climbing up those ladders. And all the ones you see here like this are all our hybrids. So we create this. So all of these, we're really looking for good blue foliage plants primarily. Good leaf imprints, which are really...
Yes, I love this texture. That's
we actually
really
select
gorgeous.
for the bud imprints, but you just get all kinds of forms.
They're happy to cross. It's not hard to get interspecific hybrids with them?
It depends. It's very interesting. You normally would look at what's closely related, but we have not found that to be true. We've crossed some of the most distantly related things.
Wow.
Now, the problem is once you've crossed them a couple times, they don't tend to want to cross anymore.
Okay.
It's like, okay, we've done enough.
Done that. Tired of him.
Tired of him, let's find me another mate. So we're always experimenting, but you only have so many agaves flowering each year. So we actually save the pollen in a refrigerator.
Right.
And we pull it out and we try it and find out who will cross with who. So there's just been so few agave breeders because people would rather breed plants that don't require ladders.
Well, it's kind of a specialty thing, yeah.
It is. So we're in new territory now, but it's really fun and a lot of great successes.
Oh, well, I'm just thrilled to see so many new varieties coming into life and that we can all trial in our colder climates. I mean, I think of us as 6B, but they say 7A, but I would try these. I mean, in the right spot.
Yeah, again, plant them early, select the right ones, good drainage, good slope, and put something to keep the moisture off of them in the winter.
That's the recipe. Well, listen, I want to thank you so much. This has just been such a delight.
Thank you very much.
If you like gardening, you'll want to subscribe to this channel. We showcase gardeners, plants, and the sheer joy that growing can bring.